Please listen carefully.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our 6th episode of the Hypothetical Siblings podcast. My name is Lainey.
My name is Nick.
And what's up, Nick?
Nothing much. I'm drinking a Dr. Pepper. I don't know if that's the same as last week or if I had a Coke. You know?
I think you had a Coke because I think I had a Dr. Pepper.
Gotcha. Never can we be drinking the same thing.
True. I have Starbucks.
Which really, it's not even Starbucks when you think about it. You know, Frappuccinos are just glorified milkshakes in the first place.
Yep, because I'm not a coffee.
You are not a coffee. I'm also not a coffee, but I have learned to
tolerate
appreciate a good coffee when it is required.
Like that one time we were going to the work party and I was tired and you told me to get just fucking iced coffee straight up. And it was the first time I actually was drinking coffee. But I just fucking chugged that bitch.
You and my girlfriend have such a clear memory of that incident. And that just really just flew by me. Because, I assumed, if you got, a caramel iced coffee or something like that, that it came with, creamer and, it wasn't just fucking black.
It was just fucking straight coffee.
And instead, you got cold black coffee.
It worked.
Oh, yeah, it would work real good.
Hype.
Yeah, but I would argue that is, the hardest, most intense coffee to drink besides, espresso.
Yeah, I definitely just, drank it as fast as I could. Get rid of it.
There you go. That's fine. It's like a shot. Well, I guess espresso is more of a shot than,
Yeah. It's more of a mixed drink.
One of my buddies got an espresso maker recently. And has just been pounding coffee at ridiculous, 3 cups a day type shit. Which, for some people who drink coffee regularly, I don't know if any of you listening feel similarly, maybe is not that much if you spread it out over the day. But we're talking within a couple of hours, 2-3 cups espresso. That's heart-exploding shit, you know?
That's like that one kid in my grade in school who just started fucking taking caffeine pills.
Hey, you know.
That's the gamer life, though.
That's the gamer life. It is the gamer life. That being said, there was the kid in Arizona a while back. We're talking 2015, 2016, that OD'd on caffeine pills, you know?
Yeah,
so it's don't fuck around with that shit. If you can, or if you can get by without caffeine, you know, then also do that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't start the addiction, start drinking coffee or whatever it is.
Just take naps, people. It really is fantastic.
You can't do other things while you're napping is the issue.
That's true. Or
train yourself to sleep right.
Or work out and then you're more tired and then you go to sleep.
Well, no, because the issue is with having energy to function. Right, so you wake up and you're tired. You're right, you should just sleep more. But this is the idea that people think that they can't sleep more, right. Because they're so busy or whatever it is.
Or what's the thing you take that makes you sleepy?
Dramamine.
No.
Oh, no, wait,
nope, that's motion sickness. It can make you tired, though.
Melatonin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say melanin, and that's
not melanin.
Definitely not melanin.
You may have darker skin. You will not sleep better. Can confirm chemically.
As a college student.
Botanicologist. Yeah.
Plants. Hello, plants?
I know. We're all plants when it comes down to it. You can't deny that. You can't confirm it.
I can deny it.
Why?
Because we have different cell structures. You know the cells?
I know the cells.
The animal ones and then the plant ones.
Yeah.
We have the animal ones.
Have you looked? Have you looked at your cells?
No. Oh, yeah, I have. In 8th grade biology.
I don't trust the work of an 8th grade scientist. I don't really think that's credible.
Well, I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah, so you can't confirm that you're not a plant.
Well, maybe I peaked in 8th grade. You don't know.
Yeah, it's fair. We've all been there. What'd you do with your week, kid?
We hung out with our friends, which was so fun. It was so fun.
What, you're talking about yesterday?
Yeah. Got to work, which, actually work, Which right now it's just like getting
That's
ready to open.
Admin kind of stuff.
Yes, but it was still great. Still miss work. Let's see. What else did I do? I feel like not much. Because, like, watching more Avatar, obviously. You finished it, I have not. I feel like because things are starting to get back to normal, I'm doing less, which doesn't make sense, I feel like.
Would you have less to talk about because... Why? I mean, because you've been working more theoretically, right? Or is it just that it's not new? And so you feel like it's not as interesting?
Yeah, that's true. Because, like, the stuff I'm doing at work is not interesting because it's not, like, people-human interaction, yeah. It's like, I swept up some leaves today. And
That's
it was great.
That's reasonable.
Yeah. But seeing people is fantastic.
You mean coworkers and just people?
People I missed.
I get
Also, we, came up with the theme for the supervisors at my job this year.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a theme every single year. And it's the fish in the tank at the dentist's office from Nemo, including Nemo.
Excellent.
And I am Flo. She's that blue fish who thinks that her reflection is her sister Deb.
Yes.
Which I found out Ebb and Flo. Deb and Flo.
Well,
Flo and Deb.
There you go. Yeah, you got it.
Yep, there you go.
I also didn't catch that in any of my viewings of Finding Nemo, which I feel like have been numerous.
Same.
You know?
Same.
That's good. I feel like that's, of all the fish in that tank, that is you.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's really fitting to our supervisors this year.
From what you've told me, it seems like everyone has a character that is very fitting to their selves.
Yeah, super fitting. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
What about you, Burr?
Oh, I did things. I went to work, and I have finally finished. I think I've talked about how I was moving rooms in my house.
Yes.
So I've pretty much finally finished moving rooms. I'm all in the new one. Just kind of some bits to take care of. Do laundry and put it all away and find a permanent home, or at least a mostly permanent home for everything. So that's been going well. I also have been working, big sports retailer, or whatever the hell I'm calling it on this podcast. Has been going well. Kind of a weird situation is we are no less busy, I would say, than we normally are. But because we're only allowed to have a certain number of people in the building at any given time, there is an upper limit as to how busy we can get, right? Which is nice because, first of all, if you have to wait 45 minutes to get into a store, you're probably not in there just to screw around, right? So everyone in there is planning on buying something, has a very clear objective in mind, right? And there are enough of them to keep you busy, but not so many that you begin to feel kind of freaked out or overwhelmed or anything like that. So it's actually been really nice, And with the fewer people in the store, especially for closing shifts, it's a lot easier to be like, hey, everyone get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
You're done. We're done.
We're trying to go home. Get out of here.
Trying to go home. Exactly. That being said, last night, there's always going to be stories, working at our ice cream stand or whatever we said previously. You meet a lot of just crazy people that you cannot, where reality is more fiction than fiction.
Yeah. Especially because I feel like both of the places we work are unique, so they draw a lot of people, even if you live half an hour, 45 minutes away,
mm-hmm.
You're still gonna go there because, it's unique in the place that we live.
I agree. I think so. But there was this kid that I was talking to last night, and I'm not great with aging people, trying to guess that. I would say he was probably 18, 19, if I had to guess. Kind of still had some of the rat mustache type shit going on, right? But you could tell that he was really trying to keep it.
Yeah.
And just such an annoying little bastard. He was looking at all the... where You've been into the place that I work. You know the case with all the swords and shit like that are like $20?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so of course you're not going to use that for anything. Like it's cheap ass Chinese steel
Yeah.
that is meant to hang on the wall and look sick,
Yeah.
right? And you know what? To the credit of these companies, the thing looks sick,
yeah.
right? And I wouldn't pay maybe as much as they're asking for it, but it looks pretty cool, you know. This kid was acting like everything that he had to see out of the case was like something that he planned to like defend himself with, right? Like he had studied the blade, right? And so, you know, and I'm talking to him and I'm like, I just straight up asked him, I was like, you know, you seem to know a lot about how these weapons work. And he goes, oh yeah, my grandpa was a weapons instructor in the SEALs or something like that. So when we were growing up, I mean, he taught me and all my cousins and my siblings how to defend ourselves with all this different stuff that he knows how to use.
Uh-huh.
I was like, all right. I mean, that's a thing that I guess could be real. Yeah. You know, you might have some crackpot grandpa that's, you know, training an army of children, yeah. Right? And then he keeps bringing it up after I had said that. And one time it's his grandpa, another time it's his uncle, another time it's his dad. And I was like, so are you just like looking shit up on the internet and you want it to sound more valid by saying it's a family member? Probably. That's probably what's happening. But he's talking about, like, how to kill people with axes and what a karambit knife is for and, like, how to slit joints and stuff like that. And, yeah, correct. And I'm like, I don't know if he's trying to impress me by showing all this off. And maybe, so, assuming that it was all real, it might have been impressive, right? Just the depth or breadth of his knowledge. If it hadn't been with a knife that was, like, $15. You know? Like, yeah. It wasn't, like, again, yeah. Cheap-ass Chinese... and then had, like, neon green gamer skulls all over it, you know?
You don't love neon green gamer
You know,
skulls?
I'm not saying that I'm not a fan of neon green gamer skulls. I'm saying that if I have to choose to kill somebody with something, that I don't want it to be covered in neon green gamer skulls.
That's a very interesting stance, Nick. I have to say.
You know what? If any of you that are listening don't agree with me, and you would prefer to murder someone with something that looks like it's straight out of Call of Duty, come at me. Email us. Send us something, you know?
I would love to have something covered in neon green gamer skulls. I really would.
With which to murder someone, or just like a plant pot? Like,
I feel
just
like
a
I want
regular...
a hammer with it on it.
Why? Like as a weapon?
Like it'd be cool. I don't know.
Or just like a tool, like a claw hammer for like putting a picture up.
Both.
Could be both. It could be both.
Yeah.
The apocalypse, everything's a weapon, right?
Yeah.
When Mom and I were taking apart that doghouse the other week,
yeah.
We pulled a big board out of it and it had all the jacked up curved nails and stuff in the end. And I was like, that's a weapon right there. And she's like, hey, apocalypse is coming. And I was like, are you implying that I should keep this with which to maim people?
I feel like she doesn't get a say because of our pact. Have I talked about our pact before?
I don't know that you have talked about your suicide pact with our mother.
So, my mom and I have decided that should there be an apocalypse with a predator, that's the most important part, we're out. So, aliens, we've talked about zombies a lot. I think dinosaurs in my head, but I don't know if she's down for that.
But what is the dinosaur apocalypse, you know? What is that? Because zombies, it's like, okay, you get bit, the infection spreads, or there's something along those lines that happen. Aliens, it is assumed that they are just semi-infinite, coming down, invasion force, whatever. Where do the dinosaurs come from?
I don't have a source for the dinosaurs. I just think about what would happen if they invaded.
So is that implying that they are organized in their invasion, or like are millions of dinosaurs just released on the planet?
Yeah, just released
by like the mole men, who have kept them in the center of the earth.
Yep. Yeah. So my mom and I have decided to not carry on with that life because I feel like we're gonna see how it's going for a little bit, you know, because
take a gauge of it, see if we're winning.
Right, because I feel like depending, I guess, on what zombies we could do, well, like America against zombies, but, you know, if it starts to get too out of hand, it's kind of like, well, I probably don't want to live anymore.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
Because even if, like, it ends for some reason or whatever, you still have to live in that world, you know?
That used to be dominated by dinosaurs or whatever it is?
Yeah, or yeah, whatever it is. And there's, like, so much damage and we have to pick ourselves back up and...
Yeah, but what, you don't want to work hard for a life? You just be like, unless I can sit in the house and drink my Starbs, then it's just over. Just fucking gun in my mouth.
No, Mom and I are both hard workers, I would say. Mm-hmm. I think that's just too stressful. We have a lot of anxiety.
Because I understand the anxiety of not wanting to be eaten or hunted, right? But the anxiety of like, they busted my house down. Gotta build it back up. You know, that is not suitable. Kill yourself anxiety in my mind.
No, but like if we look at the predator and we're losing, Mom and I are gonna be like, peace out. But then if it turns around all of a sudden, and like
we drive them back,
right? Because even they were winning at some point, so like it's a mess.
So you can't deal with being a loser.
Yes, I hate losing.
We all hate losing.
The other day when we were playing Mario Party with our two cousins,
mm-hmm.
we were doing firstborns against secondborns. I was so mad, low-key. They're only like 8 and 6.
Is he 6 now?
Yeah, I think so.
He looks a lot smaller than his older brother did at that age.
True. But like, I was like legit getting mad. And I was like, I need to calm down.
Getting mad at like your partner on the team?
No, at your guys' team because I was sad we were losing. But my partner was 6 and I was trying to cheer him up because he was mad that we were losing. But I was getting mad too, but I couldn't show it.
Okay, but was it the nature... Because we were playing Mario Party, and everyone knows that Mario Party is bullshit, and it's all just luck and everything like that. I mean, it's not all luck, but it's mostly luck, right? So was it more that bullshit was happening that led to our victory, right? Or was it just the fact that you were not in first place? Because I've seen you not take first place before, right? In fact, growing up, you know, because I'm older than you, there were a lot of times you didn't take first place, but you never did get that upset about it.
I don't really know. I feel like it depends on the situation. I was also mad because our cousin, your partner, was totally trash talking
I have
us.
never heard an 8-year-old talk so much shit as that kid.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And he's like dunking on you too.
Yeah, totally.
Like he'd do better and be like, oh, boom!
Yeah,
and
for
shit
real.
like that. And like stand up
and
and
he kept
be like,
calling you bro, and it was making me unreasonably mad.
we're just bros, bro. We're just bros.
And my partner was like, stop calling Nick bro.
Well, did you...
I was like, yeah!
Did you hear their dad call the older one bro?
Oh, no.
Yeah, so apparently that's just a thing in that family now, is everyone's a bro.
I low-key hate that.
Yeah.
I like
Nation.
bruh.
Bro army. Bruh.
Because I think it's really funny. I think I like that sound that's like, bruh.
Bruh.
Yeah, that one. So, I don't know.
So long story short, Lainey wants to fight an 8-year-old because he beat her at Mario Party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, maybe I had just had some feelings because it was firstborns against secondborns.
So there was some, like, honor to be lost or gained.
Yeah. I was like, secondborns rise up, but then
to be
it
fair,
didn't happen.
Because you and me, I'd say, are pretty much on the same playing field, right?
Yeah.
Like,
what?
I have more, like, video game experience or knowledge, maybe. But I think that, at least logically, like, in terms of deciding moves and stuff like that, which in Mario Party is, you know, important.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, our two cousins, you know, there's a difference between a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Like big
right.
difference.
But for that gap, I think that it was a relatively well-balanced experience, you know.
The only problem was the mini-games.
Yeah, because again, it comes down to stuff like manual dexterity and experience.
Right, which
a
6-year-old has less of.
I'm not going to lie, I was lagging our team a little bit, especially in some of those mini games where it's like, it's just about logical speed.
Yeah.
Right, and it's like, I'm not going to dunk on the 6-year-old because fuck you, you like undeveloped piece of scrap, you know?
Yeah. Undeveloped piece of scrap.
Like, how dare your brain not be as big as mine that I've been on the planet for, what, 18 years? No. 17 years longer than you?
Math.
No, it is. No, wait,
No.
how old is he? You said 6?
6. And how old are you? You minus
17.
6 from that.
17 years longer than you.
Yeah.
I was 17 when he was born?
Does that mean I was...
Oh, no, because that makes sense, because I was still in high school.
So I was... Oh my god, I can't do it. 14.
I'm 3 years older. There you go. You did it. You done it.
14.
That's crazy.
I had a dream I was 14. Like,
why?
Just how I looked when I was 14, because I had mom bangs. So...
Nothing like 14-year-old mom bangs.
Yeah, it was special.
Oh, okay. We're doing all right. Gotta make sure we're not talking about bullshit for too long.
Yeah, because then we get 2-hour episodes.
Yeah, we get Akbar. Akbar was not a good episode.
No, and the stats show it.
I was gonna say, that's the funny thing that I never really expected. I mean, I expected to have some idea when we started doing this podcast thing of when we made a bad episode. You would kind of just feel it, right? But I never imagined, or I never realized that there was an objective number that you could look at and be like, oh, that was bad. that was rough, you know? Whereas you look at, like, the first, or I think the 4th episode is pretty popular, too.
3rd, I think.
3rd? Yeah. But yeah, whatever it is, I mean, where you can look at an episode and be like, oh, we did a good one there.
Right.
Like, let's just try to do that shit again.
Right.
But I didn't expect to, again, look at the objective number that says you are a shit.
Yeah.
You know?
This is a shit episode.
Yeah. Which, again, I mean, you could feel it coming off of it, right? That you're like, oh, that was rough.
Yeah, after we recorded, it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. But, I mean, they're not all going to be gems. They can't all be gold, you know?
We are the crystal gems.
Always save the day. And if you think we
can't,
is it won't or
well,
can't?
I'm sorry, I don't watch Steven Universe, but I know the song.
You need to watch Steven Universe.
Okay.
Because that is just a show that is made for Lainey.
Okay.
Because there's plot, like there's good, honest plot, but it's also like cutesy fun adventure times, you know?
It's beautiful, too.
It is very, yeah. I think it's Rebecca Sugar is the lady.
Yep.
Is she the artist though, or just the writer?
Don't ask, I don't know.
Alright. Well, whatever she did a good job, because that show's a good show.
Yeah.
I have not watched all of it, but the amount that I have watched was quite good.
I've watched it here and there, but I would like to watch all of it.
Yep. So yeah, I think that kind of wraps up your week.
Yeah. That was kind of less my week and less just us shooting the shit, but...
Yeah, if nothing happened in your week, you know. I feel like not everyone wants to listen to us talk about the topic for the whole time. I feel like there's value in us talking about random garbage. Yeah. But again, that's also from coming one of the persons that is talking about the random garbage.
Right. Well, also, though, I think that my memory is just not great. So I could have just, like, forgotten something that happened.
It's all the sodium benzoate in this cola you're drinking.
I'm not drinking cola.
Well, not today.
That's true.
Or all the chlorine that you fucking inhaled yesterday.
Yep.
A lot of chlorine in that pool.
Yep, and it's still in my hair as we speak.
Why did you not shower?
I took a rinse-off shower, but it's not the same.
It's not the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Which brings us to our hypothetical this week.
What a transition. What masterful.
Did you like my voice?
I did. I like your official voice.
Yeah. It's like my customer service voice that just rises like 2 octaves. And I'm like, how can I help you?
I do the same thing, except at where I work, in the store that I work at, it is not beneficial to have a higher pitched voice because people don't trust you. They're like, no, you don't know about ammunition. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? That's reasonable.
It's fair.
I do know. Well, it's like the same thing with the girls that work in my department that get bowled over all the time because Big Beardman walks in and I'll be standing with a group of them and he's like, hey man, can you come sell me a gun? And he'll like push through them to get to me. Right. And I'll be like, no, but she can. Right. Not because I'm trying to make a point, but because I am literally legally not allowed to sell him a gun. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like stuffing his face in it is part of it, right? Because of course it is, right? But I also legally cannot do that, sir. So if you would take this young lady here who's like 5'4", you know?
Yeah. Stick it to him.
Uh-huh.
Stick it to the man.
The literal man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
So we've decided for this week our hypothetical is the prospect of toys coming to life. Like Toy Story.
If Toy Story was real.
IRL.
IRL.
And we decided that it's not more about it just happening, but us finding out about it.
Well, because the whole thing is that if Toy Story was real, I mean, it could be real right now, and we just wouldn't know, because whenever we walk into a room, the toys are all just hanging out on the floor like toys do, you know?
Yeah. Toys just be vibing on the floor.
Toys do what toys do. So yeah, in this discussion, we're going to be talking about the idea that you walk into your room now or as a child, whatever it is. Because, I mean, we've all got toys. Because really, what is a toy?
Right. Well, I mean, like, I feel like bobbleheads, that kind of stuff counts. Like knickknacks.
Okay.
And I have so many knickknacks.
What about Legos?
Oh, Legos count.
But just the people? Or...
Oh, no, I think it's just the people.
Because the bricks are not sentient.
Right.
Sapient, whatever the right word is.
Or maybe they are in the way that they are in, like, Lego games. Like, you know, when you start to build stuff in a Lego game and they just kind of flies together.
They know where their spot is.
Yeah. So my first question is, if you just busted in your room and you saw your knickknacks, whatever you had that qualified as more of a toy object, were just fucking doing something, would you, like, try and be their friend? Would you, like, fight them?
Okay, because here's what is the reaction when you walk into the room is a hard question. Because it totally depends on what your mind panics and gets to first.
Yeah.
Because there's the situation in which you walk into that room and your first thought is, oh my god, Toy Story is real.
Right.
And you're like, you're all my friend. You all love me. It's so great. We can all be homies, right? Let's hang out. Or your mind gets to the place where there's some demonic possession shit going on. Let's go get some weaponry to end this shit.
I think
right?
that's what... Like, I would probably think that a ghost was... Like, ghost children were playing with the toys instead of, like, them being alive.
So let's assume that the first reaction is panic, right? From there, it depends on if you're home alone.
Oh my god.
Right? Because if you're home alone and start screaming and stuff like that, then despite whatever your reaction is, there's no one else that knows instantly about what's happening.
Well, and you can't tell them about it unless you can convince the toys to show people.
Correct.
Because then you're like, oh, you have some issues.
Yeah, you have weird, like, I don't know.
Schizophrenia?
I guess is what that'd be. Yeah. Or, like, some type of hallucinatory issue.
Right.
You know? But yeah, so after the initial panic, because I feel like if they know that you saw them, that they're going to make some kind of secondary effort to be like, hey, right. Or it depends on how bad you saw them. Because if you're, like, sitting there watching them and they're moving around, then there's no, like, convincing that they can do to you of, like, just playing dead. And you're like, okay, maybe I just was having a weird, like, heat stroke type thing, right. Or something along those lines. But let's say you see them and for long enough and they know that you saw them for long enough that they're like, oh no, yeah, like he knows or she knows that right. We're alive, right? I feel like I'd be homies. I'd have a lot of questions. Yeah. You know, I'd be like, so do you eat? Right? Because you're not a carbon-based... This is life as we do not know it.
Right.
The other thing is, what is the moment of their consciousness? Is it in the factory as soon as they are fully put together? Right? Like on the belt, like the head gets sewn onto Woody and he's like takes his breath shit. And is alive, right? Yeah. Or is it like it has something to do with being picked up in the Toy Story, not the Toy Story, the Toys R Us. The Toys R Us, like off the shelf, and it's like, oh no, this is my child now.
Right, or is it like something about how like the child playing or whatever like brings life into it because it's like the pure imagination and like joy of a child or something brings toys to life.
Well, remember in Toy Story, there's the part where they're in the toy store. Right,
and they're all moving though.
And they're all hanging out. They're all like, yeah, this is just a thing, right? So I think we're literally about to have like a what is life debate about Toy Story. Life begins, I think, in the factory the second that toy gets finished, right?
Yep. I agree. Okay. So, like, they have personalities, though, just like people.
Right, like
so
there are different Buzz Lightyears.
Right, so there's going to be a toy or toys that are like, fuck this, I'm going to go explore the world. Or like, I don't like people, or...
Well, but because their society as it exists, right? So since they're... I guess, would you call it even a conception?
Sure, I don't know.
Like when they exist in the factory? Mm-hmm. Is it just innate knowledge that we cannot let people know that we exist as being living beings, right?
Yeah, I feel like they have instincts.
Right. So there's some level of society that they have that is based upon this instinct. And in that society, it is the ultimate forbidden thing to let people know that you are sentient.
Yes.
Yeah. So they get to the house of the child, whatever it is, and they meet. Their only community is basically a tribal kind of situation with the other toys that child or children has.
Right.
You know. So they know that there are other kids who also have toys, but they only probably know that via listening to people talk about it.
Right.
Right. And
or like when kids like bring their toys over to other kids' house.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So they like create their own culture and stuff. Is that what you're saying? Like in your house?
Exactly. So there is a culture that these toys have in your house, right? And I think that depending on what house you live in or what the culture of your tribe of toys is, wildly depends on you. And what you do with that is going to also depend on you and subsequently their culture, right? Because you may have unknowingly raised a tribe of toys that despise humanity and are going to try and overthrow you to some extent by rallying the other toys.
Right. Or they are so, like, if you treat your toys really well, but, like, people are mean to you or that kind of stuff, you might have created a tribe of toys that totally loves you but literally hates every other person.
Correct.
So like you find out they're alive and they're like, so do you want us to like hurt this person?
Well, like because again, if you treat them exceptionally well and you are, say, the only person that they interact with, you are the deity to this tribe now, right? Like you are the specific aspect of God that interacts with the rest of the world. Right? Like, because it's that level that led to shit like the Crusades. Right, where it's like, hey, God said we got to do it, so let's go get them.
Right.
You know? So I think something very similar could happen in that situation. But let's take the toys from Toy Story as our example, because there's no way of knowing what our individual toy tribes would act like, right? Yeah. So we have Buzz and Woody and all the rest of them.
Ham.
They're relatively well adjusted.
Yeah.
You know, existing within their own little sphere. I think that if they were to come to the rest of the world, it would be incredibly peaceful.
Yeah.
But the other question is, how would you introduce them to the rest of the world? Because they're not just going to run out and like go do it, right? Or at least this specific group would not. They're going to kind of defer to Andy and be like, hey, we're alive. And then the step from there is, because his tribe of toys is well adjusted, that implies that Andy is well adjusted.
Yeah.
So what is the step of a regular, reasonable person? What is that step that they're taking to say, hi, toys, all toys are alive?
So you're saying that if you found out your toys were alive, you would try and tell everybody?
I would try to tell certain people, depending on what is requested of me by the toys. If they were like, hey man, you really gotta not tell people, I'd be like, it sucks because I have to live with this forbidden knowledge now, but I understand why we would not want to do that, right? Because if we go and tell everyone, the government's like, yo, we gotta figure this shit out.
Right.
Because
there are so many toys everywhere that, like, that could be a huge issue. That's one of the other things I wanted to talk about was how much power do they have? Like, because it's not related to what they're made of, because Woody is, like, soft with like a
Mhm.
hard head and stuff.
Right.
But he's like jumping and lifting stuff.
Right.
Like
I mean,
that's
they have I wouldn't necessarily say ant-like, but they have a significant strength for their material that they are made out of and their size.
right.
Right. Like it is this exponentially larger than what they are.
Right.
I agree.
So that's like a real issue because like
Right.
if you do something like Sid from Toy Story where he's just mutilating all of his toys,
Right.
then and you find out they're real, I feel like they'd be like, okay, you found out about it, like let's fight right now.
Right.
And you would just, what would you do?
Well, and they kind of do, right? Like in that first Toy Story movie, they attack Sid.
Right.
And I'm not saying that Sid doesn't deserve it, right? Because he's a little shit and he's a murderer, technically, right?
Right, because of toys.
But you see, though, that those toys are not inherently evil,
Right.
right?
They're kind of like living in misery. Like they're not inherently bad just because bad stuff has happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
They want to get revenge, but it's not. They're just kind of like sad.
Right, because they can't fight back against this existence that they have been thrust into. But you do see them make an effort to, was it Woody or Buzz that lost an arm or something like that?
What?
One of them, like, loses a part, and they get dragged away and then fixed in that first movie.
No, I thought that was in the second movie because.
Well, there's the second movie where Woody gets his arm sewn back on.
Right.
But one of them does lose a part or something in the first movie, and the toys are like dragging them away, and they're like, they're gonna eat him or whatever it is, and then they let him go, and he's like, they fixed me.
Oh,
You
I
know?
don't remember that.
Yeah. So, under that assertion, I mean, even these demonic looking fucked up toys are genuinely good, or you know, good in a very base nature kind of way.
Right.
You know.
Well, I think that's like also though the nature of toys is they're supposed to be like a good thing,
Mhm.
you know, and so I feel like maybe that's part of them being created is like they're inherently good.
Mhm.
Even I mean that gets more complicated when you get to Toy Story 3 with Lotso
Mhm.
because he's no good.
But again, he's shaped by his abandonment and subsequent abuse in the daycare, right? Like, yes, what he does is fucked up and wrong, but it's not because he started out that way. It's because he felt this loss and this abuse over time. So it's very similar to human emotions.
Right.
You know, if you feel that you have no purpose and you're stuck in the same place and have felt nothing but loss and abandonment and abuse, you're going to be a fucked up person.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, that's true. But, I mean, I think that the reason that I wouldn't go around and be like, my toys are alive,
Yeah.
is because but I low-key think people might try to weaponize them.
Oh, 1,000%.
And
If you don't think the government would be on that shit, I'd be like, we can have soldiers that are more mobile, who are technically, because of course I argue they're technically not alive, so there's no morality involved, right? And we don't have to use humans, right? Which you have to feed and clothe and everything else.
Well, and if they kept it a huge secret,
yeah.
I mean, if you, like, deploy fucking toys, and they just start going and doing a mission, and they can just play inanimate to get out of stuff.
The Green Army Men are perfect spies.
Right.
You know? Because they're so small they can fit into vents. They are non-living. They're not metal. So they don't
still have
trip
the army mentality.
Exactly.
Where they're like, go, go,
Correct.
Oh.
I mean, you have a toy that is designed to be effectively the perfect soldier.
Right.
You know?
Right. And millions of them. I mean, how many of those freaking Green Army Men are there? I mean, just crazy amounts, I bet.
Correct.
So, yeah, I wouldn't tell anybody, I don't think. I mean, maybe if I would tell you or our friends.
You'd have to establish, like, a cult of knowledge.
Right.
Where you'd be like, this is the forbidden knowledge that has been blessed to us.
Right.
Only we can know. Right. But then over time, do you try to... Because here's the thing. There is already what I would say is abusive toys in the melting of army men. The Sids of the world, right, are doing these things already.
Well, we've melted army men.
Oh, sure. Right? Because kids are shitty and they do these things. But, because we've already, I guess, argued in the case that the toys are alive, right? Because then you get in the question of what is life. But I would say that being able to respond and do everything like that is technically alive.
Right.
So now that we have proved that these things are alive, that makes those actions a lot more sinister, right?
Right.
Even if they don't know that it's sinister. So if you make it known to the world that these things are alive and that you should not be treating them this way, then you take away a lot of those actions, because there's a lot of parents will be like, oh my god, don't do that. Like, you can talk to the army men and like play with him, but don't murder him, you know, or maim him. The flip side of that is there's a whole new group of people that are like, oh, it's alive and I can torture it?
Right.
Let me do that.
Right. Well, and there would be like activists trying to be like, hey, we should have laws so that we don't like torture these living things.
It'd be like animal owning.
Yeah, exactly. Except I feel like it's a little bit more, because I feel like there'd be the same kind of laws about abuse and stuff, but also if they have human intelligence, like, would human laws apply to them? Because, like, you're like, oh, I want to rob this place, but I'll just fucking send my Ken and Barbie to go do it.
Yeah,
you know?
right? No, I think that the laws would totally apply to them. The other weird thing is that some toys are people, right? But are there not, I might be misremembering this, but are there not also toys that behave as their ascribed shape? Like, is there not something that's just like a dog? Or like Bo Peep's sheep are just sheep?
Are just sheep, yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, so that's really interesting because, like, Slinky, the dog,
is a person.
Is like a person. And then there's Wheezy the penguin, I think is
right.
his name, and Ham the piggy bank,
right,
and
or
Rex.
But I thought that there was something that acted like a dog, that was like a dog shape or something like that, or maybe wasn't a dog.
I feel like there is too, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
So it's just like, it just totally depends on what it is. Because Bo Peep's sheep are literally sheep.
Yeah.
But why then is Slinky not a dog?
Well, does it have to do with something about their nature, like them being built, right? Is it that when they are building a Slinky dog, that there's something about that is like, oh no, this is like a thing, like there's some idea collectively that it's like, oh no, this thing can like, is more than just a dog, right? And then that idea is kind of infused into the creation of this being. Whereas you're making a little plastic sheep and you're like, it's a sheep.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I wonder if it's relative to what its purpose is. Because, like, Slinky the dog, I feel like is more about...
Can be played with by itself.
Right, whereas, like, the sheep are an accessory to Little Bo Peep.
Right, and that they are meant to be a group and stuff like that.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they're meant to be her sheep,
right.
You know? So, like, I feel like any kind of Barbie accessory or that kind of thing where it's like, you can get a dog for Barbie. Like, I feel like that's going to be a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Right.
But then, so is there, because of that, right, and as people know about toys' existence and toys start to kind of integrate into society as best as they can, is there a classism that rises based upon what kind of toy you are? Right? Because if we're talking, if we're talking about toys looking at people as the vision of their creator, right, that we are literally gods to them that gave them life, is there a classism that evolves where the toys that look like people, so at your top you have the Barbies and Kens and G.I. Joes and stuff like that, and then below that, say you have like the Woodies or the Buzz Lightyears, which are still humanoid but are kind of exaggerated, you know, they're not exactly replicas,
right?
That it's like, oh, I am more person than you because I look more like
the people who created
us. Exactly. Right. There's a similar concept where it's, you know, the whitening of Jesus. Right. Where it's like, because I look more like Jesus, there's some type of superiority that I feel over people who I don't think look like Jesus.
Right. Well, and I also think, though, that people are going to be loyal to their tribes, like to their toy tribes.
Okay.
So, like, I don't think that the toys start to get a superiority complex, because if we're saying that they're inherently good because of the nature that
Mm-hmm.
toys have, that there would be a person collecting toys that looked like them
Mm-hmm.
or something, and those toys would be like, look at that,
We
like,
look
group.
more like, Max or whatever
Right.
it is, and therefore...
Right, and then they're like, look at that group of toys. There's, like, the weird T-Rex and the
True.
Slinky Dog, and, like, what's
It's
that
like,
about?
you don't even look like a thing that exists.
Right, whereas, like, we are God.
Yeah, we are in the form of the creator.
Right, which is crazy. So, like, there would just be a lot of problems with the people getting toys, not just,
Mm-hmm.
like, the toys themselves.
Yeah, because you could start a cult.
Right.
Or that your tribe is effectively a cult at its inception. The other thing is, if we're talking about the form of the creator and this religious aspect, has me thinking of, do the factories where these toys are made become a kind of mecca, like a kind of holy site, because it's literally where they were brought into being?
I think that the toys are completely shaped by their human.
Okay.
I feel that they don't dwell on where they came from unless they made it the human made it a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are not a lot of people who would do that. Maybe the stores where they are bought or something could be like that, because, like, if you are a kid or just a person who really likes getting toys from this one specific place, and you're like, oh, I love going to this store, and you talk about it, and they hear it, they're like, so this is where I'm from, right.
Well, and then you get probably a superiority complex where it's like, oh, if you're not like Figma is a company that makes really high quality, like, lifelike figurines of, like, Overwatch and anime and stuff like that. If you're not a Figma brand toy, then you are not worth talking about,
Well, and what happens when you bring Toy Story 4 into it, where that spork, which is trash, gets sentient because of, I think Bonnie is her name.
Right, so that brings about the question of, is it because I haven't seen Toy Story 4.
Me either.
Oh, you haven't either?
No, remember, because we were mad when it came out.
That's right. There was mild protest in our family that was like, fuck that shit, OGs for life. Which, now that I'm looking at it, especially when you consider stuff like the Star Wars angle, is kind of a shitty mentality.
Yeah. But my thing was, Toy Story 3 ended so well.
It was a very neatly wrapped bow, and it's the same thing where it's like, I enjoy the story that is only as long as it needs to be.
Right.
In the case that we were talking about, Avatar: The Last Airbender. They made 3 seasons. There was enough content that it kept a good, strong 3 seasons. But by the end of it, the story was done.
Right.
And I actually was listening to another podcast recently where I learned that after The Last Airbender became such a success, there was supposed to be an Avatar: The Last Airbender 2, and then a movie, and then was the far-flung idea of Legend of Korra. Well, they made the movie, The Last Airbender, and it bombed to shit.
Yeah,
because it was awful.
It was
right.
horrible.
And they said, oh God, we lost all that public sentiment, all that, good tidings that we had.
Right.
Just skip straight to the faraway thing. We need to get as far away from that as possible so that we don't have any association. But when they made Korra, the reason that Korra feels so weird and stilted, apparently, again, this is not me saying because I haven't seen it, they said, okay, you get 1 season.
Oh, really? It only has 1 season?
They said, you get 1 season, do it. They're like, oh, fuck. And so I think it's like 20 episodes or something like that. And they made it, and it's 1 season. And they said, and it was the hottest shit ever after that first season. Because, like, oh my God, because it introduces all these new ideas, and it's the revival of this thing that was incredibly popular. And they said, oh, it's hot shit. Okay, you get 1 more season. And they're like, okay. So we have to start this plot line and then end it again in the next 20 episodes or whatever it is. Okay, you get 1 more. And that happened 4 times. So you have characters having single season arcs that don't have the same time as, like, Zuko, where it takes a long time for him to come back and find his way and stuff like that. It's really quick turnaround. And then you have this character that's, like, sitting on the sidelines, and they're like, well, we're kind of done with him, but it's a fan favorite, so we gotta,
like, bring him in.
They have a new thing now, and it feels very derived, right? So again, I'm a fan of when a story takes the time it needs to complete the story, and that is it.
Yeah, So I haven't watched Toy Story 4.
Yes, but we have not seen Toy Story 4. But it seems like, because obviously she just kind of makes, Forky is his name?
Right, yeah, because his face looks drawn on and he's made of pipe cleaners and a spork.
Yeah.
So, but he seems kind of stupid. Like, I didn't watch it, but from, like...
functioning?
Yeah, like, from the commercials and stuff, I just remember the thing where he walks up and he says, "Hi, I'm trash." Like...
Well, and apparently the whole thing throughout the movie is they're, like, because he is important to Bonnie, they're trying to keep him around, but the first thing he hears is that he's trash, and so he's constantly trying to throw himself away.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what I've gotten from the bits and pieces that I've heard. So he's always, like, sprinting towards trash cans, trying to dive in and be like, "Let me die."
Right.
But Woody's like, "Don't, you motherfucker. Bonnie loves you." You know?
Stick around.
Exactly. So I guess there is some ability to create, right? That children or people have, that if you love this thing like it is a toy, that it gains life.
Right.
Right.
Which is so crazy.
Right.
People would... The amount of abuse of power that would happen is so large. Like, people using their creation abilities to just make weird
horrific
stuff.
Freak monsters.
Right,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
good. That's just dog in distance barking at nothing.
He's really old. He barks at nothing all the time.
It does happen. God, it's hot in here. Are you hot?
Yeah.
I'm sweating.
I mean, that's the purpose of this room.
Is to be hot. That's fair.
So.
You've revealed our secrets.
No, I haven't.
They'll know.
No, I haven't.
The hot loft.
The hot loft.
The hot pod loft.
Our cousin called it a pod palace.
Pod. You know what? I feel like that is not fitting because a palace would be significantly larger than this. But maybe that's just me.
Yeah. Well, so I would try and keep my toys to myself, and if it happened to somebody else and they became super public, I would just hope that I wasn't around long enough to see some horrible shit happen.
Yeah, that's fair. We don't have any emails, right?
True.
No one has sent us any emails. Y'all suck. Send us some things to talk about.
Although we have 18 listeners, 8 followers. So shout out all you guys listening.
Yeah, shout out the followers. And if you haven't followed the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, whatever you do, follow it on. Make sure to do that so that you can know when those new episodes come out. Hot and fresh.
Hot, fresh. Sometimes they come out at midnight. Sometimes they come out at a random time on Sunday.
We should probably make that a uniform thing. Right? So they have it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah,
Noon on Sunday?
That's a big...
Throwing it down. I'm throwing it down right here.
I think he shouldn't throw it down, but he threw it down.
Noon on Sunday is new podcast time. It'll be ready.
It's okay.
Boom.
Well, okay.
Noon on Sunday.
So thanks so much for listening.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. We do appreciate all of you that do listen. Like I said, give us a follow on Spotify, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, all those wacky woohoo yaha platforms that you listen to us on. Wacky woohoo wacky. Yeah, wacky woohoo yaha.
Yaha!
There you go.
That was Mario.
Okay, good. That's what I thought it was, but I was
He's our guest
questioning
this week.
Little did you know.
Yahoo!
All right. If you folks have any questions that you do want to send us, and we would love to answer your questions, I think that would be such a fun segment on this podcast. You are more than welcome to send an email. I mean, you could add us on Twitter and shit for all I care. But
right.
If you'd like it to get directly to us, you can send an email to hypotheticalsiblings@gmail.com. That's hypothetical, HYPOTHETICAL, siblings, SIBLINGS, @gmail.com.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you very much.
Have a great week.
Great.